Brunch culture.
We want to talk about faith. We want to talk about politics. We want to talk about race. We want to talk about pop culture. Literally, everything is up for discussion, and that's what brunch culture is about. It's about a thing. Feel real good. Wave your hands in the air and lick 2 shots in the air.
Brunch culture. Brunch culture. Brunch culture. Brunch culture.
She's Lisa V.
And he's Randall Keith.
And this is Brunch Culture, the show where everything is up for discussion. And typically, I say the weekly show, but we kind of been MIA for a little minute. So, not a little minute. It's been, like 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks.
Has it been 3 weeks?
We apologize, y'all. I've had a lot going on.
I think we both have had a lot going on, which typically we do, so... we don't want to bring y'all excuses, but it's been a lot, We had Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And Thanksgiving was a lot going on. I was in Florida. We were both kind of just, still on the move and trying to be with our families and stuff like that. So we hope y'all understand. We here. We ain't going nowhere.
We love y'all.
We really do love y'all for real.
And I missed the show.
Yeah. It always seems like when we don't record, it's like a little void. Like I talk a lot anyway, but I still feel like, but dang, like we haven't done the show. Like I feel like it's so much to talk about.
Yeah. We kind of had a brunch culture conversation over dinner.
We had, we probably had like 4 of them actually. So we probably could have just record part of our conversations.
Yeah. And it was too loud in there though. We had an Asian
loud
spot. It was really good.
Hawkers. Yeah. Apparently my friend told me they have one at Orlando, but that dish that I had, I actually want to go back the day before I flew out. I wanted to go back and try the dish. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was really good.
Yeah, those wings were good too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and get those.
And I ate my entire meal with my chopsticks. And so I felt like, because typically I'll just do sushi with chopsticks. I won't do like a whole meal, but I did like my whole meal with chopsticks. I was proud of myself. Yeah,
I still can't use chopsticks. I feel like, I would make a mess trying to do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, this past weekend, I told Randall before we started recording, I was at a conference in Atlanta. And I had been off coffee for like 4 months, and I drank coffee, and I'm sitting there during lunch trying to eat. And I'm like, these people probably think I'm slow or I got Parkinson's disease because I cannot put this fork in my mouth. And it was so frustrating because I was so hungry and I was shaking. I was like, is there something wrong with me? Do I need to call an ambulance?
The worst. That's why I mess with coffee.
Coffee's never done that to me before.
Yeah.
It was like on some different type stuff. I was like, what is going on?
The absolute worst. That's why I don't mess with coffee though. I refuse to get hooked onto it. If I drink it, like I can drink it like 8, 9 in the morning. It'll be 3 o'clock the next morning and I'm still kind of wired up. So I just have to let coffee go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
I want GOP to let that tax bill go.
Oh man.
Because this whole concept of it's going to trickle down, it never trickles down. The concept is, it makes sense. Like it makes logical sense, the argument, but it doesn't. You can't have trickle down.
It doesn't work.
Trickle down economics doesn't work with greed. And you can't legislate greed. So exactly. Because you can't legislate greed, trickle down economics always is a fail.
So what's really frustrating, so if you guys haven't looked at, so it's like 479 pages of legislation to go in order to go through. So obviously most of us aren't going to read all of that. Most of us are going to rely on the bigger media outlets to let us know what's in there. But another thing that is out, there are a few other nonpartisan kind of like think tank ish type places that will actually dissect the bill and let you know hey, here's what this actually means in play and in practice. Here's what's going to happen. And so I've been following and reading up on that stuff, and it's actually quite scary how it's estimated to increase the deficit by $1 trillion over the course of, I think they said 10 years, which is insane. absolutely insane. And, you know, just kind of the idea that if we give corporations an additional decrease in their tax bill, that they'll do things and they'll create jobs and they'll also increase wages. I read some comments by some Republican senator that was like, you know, one of the things that we've been able to do is get more jobs, but we start looking at the quality of those jobs and the amount of those salaries, and they're so low. So this bill will allow companies to actually increase people wages because that's what they want to do. You tell me what business is not out here trying to cut their expenses. Like, that's just, it's just not gonna happen, yo. Like, come on, man. You mean to tell me like you got all these huge corporations that's saying, man, we just really need to, if we can decrease our taxes, we'll make sure everyone's making six figures. No, you're not gonna do that, yo. Like,
yeah, because even if that's the case, they would have just decreased the amount of money and bonuses the CEOs get and spread that. If they were already on the trickle down if they were already in that mind frame,
yeah, they
would just cut their bonuses, not even cut their salaries.
Right.
They just cut their bonuses and trickle that down.
And yeah, give your day-to-day workers, your factory workers, you know, your regular lower level workers, give them some bonuses and not like $100 gift card at the Christmas party. Like, give them some for real substantial bonuses that they can see some things happening. No, it's just not going to happen. So it's just a lot of stuff though. I read actually a few articles. I was going this morning. The HuffPost had this one article where they talked about like the top 6 things that's in the bill that we need to be mindful of. And that was, you know, pretty interesting. But then there's another article I think the Washington Post did. And so they basically compared like our current, because what we talk about, right, is the tax cuts that are going to happen for the rich. But there also is a change in the percentage rates that we will be charged on our income tax. And so the income tax brackets are said to be the same in both the House and the Senate bills. I think the Senate bill is the same. It changes a little in the House, but the percentages at the rates at which our income is taxed are going to be a little different. But so it kind of looks at, if you look at the initial, like table, it kind of shows you that I think for most people, you're seeing at least like a 2% decrease. But apparently that 2% decrease is only for a certain amount of time. And then you start to see it actually increase in the next like 5 or 6 years or something like that. Like, it's something crazy in which it's like, yo, so wait, hold on. So we kind of get like our taxes, the amount of taxes that we pay, amount of income taxes that we pay, they're decreased. The amount of the standard deduction that we can take is increased, but that's only for a short amount of time. And then the entire thing like flops. And so then we start to pay more in taxes. So it's like almost we give you like a calm or super calm before the storm, and then the storm hits, and then like, you know, everybody's out here paying more taxes than what we're currently paying, except corporations, except the top 1%. I think there's a top, I think there's like 5%, except those people, but everybody else is just like paying, you know, more taxes, which is, it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating to me, because you try to tell people that, hey, this is why you have to be involved. Having a conversation with somebody that was telling me that they were really frustrated about this tax bill and talking about how it's going to impact them and impact them in the long run, in this business that they're trying to start in the long run. But it's kind of like, but you were one of those people that said that voting it doesn't make sense to vote. I don't need to vote because it's all rigged anyway. The powers that be are going to see to that what happens. Like, how do we, this is, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do we reconcile these two, yo? This is just not the same.
Yeah. It's so frustrating. And it's like this whole idea that people are like, well, he's going to drain the swamp. And it's like, no, he is the swamp.
That's what it is. You haven't realized he is the swamp. The whole swamp. Like, it's all him.
It is a swamp.
The entire swamp.
He didn't do anything but kill the middleman. That's all he did. Now he doesn't have a middleman. He doesn't have to manipulate politicians. He's the politician.
what can we do? One thing I do want to do, these articles, I'm actually going to put them out on on the Brunch Culture page so people can see them, because what's really important is, and just to kind of like clarify what's happening now. So the Senate bill passed, that the House passed a version of the same bill. But so now the House and the Senate must reconcile those two bills that pass, basically send them back through the House and the Senate again, and then send it to the president's desk. What all this means in the now is that we can be pretty sure that a change is going to happen. At this point, we're just trying to figure out what exactly that change is. Something that is more than likely to happen is that the individual mandate, which is attached to the Affordable Care Act, or what people like to call the Obamacare, is threatened to be taken away. If that's taken away, the Affordable Care Act in itself can't sustain itself, just financially. It can't hang on without that. So then people we're gonna have, about 13 million people that's going to be without healthcare again. And so we just it starts to balloon in this process of having additional issues, all that saying that, oh, we need to, decrease the deficit. We need to decrease our expenses. But in order to do that, we also need to give the most wealthy Americans additional tax breaks. And we need to start taking away these quote unquote entitlements and making sure that, people are strapping up their bootstraps and doing it for themselves. So honestly, this is just it's really a dark time from a financial sense. It's a dark time. I woke up this morning and was just like reading everything that I could get my hands on, to try to figure out what's going on. And it's really sad. It's really frustrating. And it's one of those things is like, you're watching it happen and you're kind of, I've seen people online like make jokes about their money and like, oh, well, this doesn't really affect me that much because I make more than $100,000, which is nice and it's cool. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's great. But then also it's affecting some people that I'm pretty sure you have people in your family that don't make $100,000. These changes are also going to impact people that are getting graduate level degrees. Like, it's just, it's a lot more than just your $100,000. And especially if you're like on the cusp of reaching that 6-figure mark or just exceeding that 6-figure mark, we got some problems too. Like, it's not, you're not just scot free. So we're going to put these articles out so that you guys can just really be engaged and understand this type of talk and this type of actions in government really impact you directly. How much money, how your money is going to be affected, how it's going to be taxed, how your income is going to be taxed, how much money you're going to have to pay for healthcare. Like, all of those things affect you directly and affects you day to day. It's not one of those long-term things. This can affect you as early as next fiscal year. So like, we really, really, really need to understand what's going on and make sure that we are using our voices for that. So
it's so important, because we have a president that thinks that anything that disagrees with him is fake.
Right.
So which is a whole nother scary situation. I don't even want to go into that right now. You know what else is scary? Keisha Cole's voice. On the Soul Train voice.
That was a real good, because I was actually thinking the transition into the Soul Trainer was like on a happier note, but she's like, what else is scary? Keisha Cole's voice. Gotcha.
Like that, to me, it sounded like me.
She scared you and you thought it was yourself?
When she did that video, so many people used to love that song. And I'm like, that doesn't bother you? Because even the edited studio version was bad.
Yeah.
And when your studio version is bad, you bad.
I didn't. That's the one song that I never got into.
But people loved it.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand. It was beyond me. I was like, man, that sounds like I sang that.
I wasn't one of those people at all.
Yeah.
But what I will give Keisha Cole credit for is, so this new song, it's not bad. I heard it. I don't like when she performs it. So, and I really don't like when she performs it, mainly just because of the whole like dance breakdown. I'm not a fan of people having a breakdown in a song where you dance or do some sort of dance moves and you kind of halfway do the moves, and so you aren't as in sync with everybody else, the like professional dancers. I feel like it just makes you look bad. And it's
like MJ dancing, Mary J. Blige.
But Mary J. Blige, she usually dances on her own, like she doing her own thing. So I'm good with that. You know what I'm saying? Like she's not trying to like sync up with some dancers. It's like she doing her. You remember the Mariah Carey video where she was like doing the same moves that the dancers was doing, and it was like, yeah, Mariah, just don't do it. Like,
yeah,
it kind of looks like that, but I give Mariah a pass because it's like,
because she drunken.
I just feel like she Mariah Carey. Like Mariah Carey has been writing her own songs since the 1980s. Like you can't, we can give Mariah Carey a pass. She's legendary in that sense. Keisha Cole, I just
said this lady is drugging. My bad. I'm so sorry.
You said she drugging.
Yeah, she always seems like she on drugs.
Now she drugging. You cracked yourself up with that one. She's drugging. I thought you said she was drunken. It's like, no, I don't think she really drunk. Well,
I think she be on like those like prescription pills.
Oh no.
Opioids be taking people.
I think Mariah Carey is just saying, "Hey, I've done what I need to do. I'm just out here to make y'all happy because I really don't have to be out here. Financially, we set, we good."
Yeah, I guess. She got the money for her pain and suffering. Was it like a few million from
I saw that, which was interesting because Mariah Carey don't need money, yo. Mariah Carey just don't need money. But back to Keisha Cole. Keisha Cole. We're not talking about Mariah Carey. Keisha Cole and the Soul Train Awards. I just don't like the dance breakdown. That's it. The song for me is cool. Like Keisha Cole, do your thing.
I didn't enjoy 112.
Okay, so what didn't you enjoy about 112?
I didn't like that they started with their new songs. I feel like they should have just started with what we knew. Because their new album, I got it, and I just didn't really enjoy it. I did like their song with Jagged Edge. That was okay, but I didn't like the other ones.
Actually, I like the song that they performed. So for me, here's the thing. People were complaining about 112. And the only problem that I had with their performance was I feel like whoever choreographed it over-choreographed it. Like, they didn't need to do all those dances, all those dance moves, the jump down and jump up and the little... it was confusion. I think it was Q that was doing the little, like, leg Michael Jackson pose, which looked super awkward because, like, bruh, y'all, like, approaching 40. Like, just, it's okay. You ain't got to do all that. But I thought 112... did good. I think overall they did good. What annoyed me was Toni Braxton. I feel like everybody was like, Toni, the legend, the living legend. Yo, she sung like 4 words the whole performance. It was like...
I never understood any word she ever said in her songs.
But except she wasn't even trying to say the words during this performance. Who do you think I am? And it was like, there was so many parts of the performance where there was the background like track just singing and she just wasn't saying nothing. It was so frustrating to me. So I'm like, people seem to love Toni Braxton, but everybody kept giving 112 a hard time. And I'm like, yo, at least they didn't sound bad. Like, I mean, they were, all the notes weren't there, but it was like, all right, cool, it's fine. But Toni Braxton was just like, obviously not singing some of these words. Like, she just wasn't gonna say no words. She was making sounds. And I'm like, yo, so like you don't speak no words no more? We just gonna give out sounds and moans and like that's gonna be the performance? Like, and you couldn't tell her she wasn't killing it. And that's why I was like, I mean, her too. You gave us a dance break, which was all right, but like, I don't know. I just think I could have did without it. You should have just gotten her award. If you weren't gonna sing no words, you should have just got your award and kept moving.
The best performance of the night for me was the Cypher.
I didn't see the Cypher. So I actually went back and I was watching it. I recorded it, and so I went back and watched it. But for some reason I didn't see the Cypher. Was like during like the commercial breaks or whatever, right? I don't think I seen any of those.
It was only one.
Oh, okay, yeah, I definitely didn't see that. I saw clips on Instagram that had like Fantasia on it, but I didn't see the cipher.
Yeah, it was really good. It had Fantasia, Mally Music, Faith Evans, but what is his name?
Bilal?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was good. So yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Shout out to SWV for getting honored with
Oh,
the
yeah,
Radio
they did
Soul
good.
performance. They did good, but I was a bit upset. Like Lily just obviously wasn't singing. There were so many parts where you can look at the video and Lily like wasn't putting her mouth up to her microphone. And I mean, obviously,
It was the Coco show.
yeah, and it's like so we know this, but at least kinda when you're performing, you gotta like put your mic up, and so we can think that you at least performing the chorus.
At
Lily,
least pretend, deceive us,
like,
deceive us.
right? Lily was just like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm not even finna put this mic up to my mouth. I ain't gonna try. It's nothing that needs to be done. Like, I'm good. For what? What we doing this for? And I was like, yeah, Lily, I mean, you could at least gave us that. But I did think. So listening to them, seeing them perform was dope. Of course, like I bought their 2 recent albums. They're like albums that came back out with in like the 2000s or whatever. And the first one was really, actually they both were pretty good, but I was really in love with the first one. They're in like all black. I can't think of the album name right now, but they actually did a really good job. And it was just good to see them. It's 25 years of SWV. And what's also funny too is that like they had never received an award before, which is crazy. Like,
Because so many people without talent get them all the time.
yeah, and that's what I think it just goes to show that like when people say the music business, like that business piece of it is so important. And I think really it's probably because that business portion for them was not, all the way intact or put together. I mean, people weren't really on top of it. I don't think they had anybody fighting for them, to get the respect or honored in the way that they should have, because it makes no sense that SWV, they're one of those throwback girl groups that everybody, you think about the 90s, you have to say SWV. Like, you have to think about SWV. They were everywhere for a period of time, but like they never got honored. That to me is crazy. But so it felt really good to see them get honored with the Lady of Soul Award. And I was really glad to see them perform that. Like, So Into You, I still love that song. Like, I feel like y'all can play that on people can play that on radio now, and folks will go just as crazy as they did back in the day.
It's they can really, really sing, especially Coco.
Coco.
You know who did too much at the awards? Tank. It was just too much. You didn't watch his performance?
I think I saw. Do I remember Tank's performance?
You didn't miss it.
Oh yeah, he performed that song. I know the song because I've seen him perform. I think I've seen like clips of him perform that on Instagram. But yeah, I don't know. I get where Tank's going. I like Tank. I feel like he's one of those dudes that's still trying to keep like R&B alive. I guess I just kind of wish that he would just like stick to like the R&B that he used to do. And although I really like the song Birthday, I just feel like it became like a Trey Songz type R&B where everything is about like, how many ways can I hit it? And it was like, all right, bro, like we used to do some other stuff. Like, let's incorporate some other stuff too.
Yeah, he has to be comfortable with himself and not try to be Trey Songz. Because where's Trey Songz right now?
I think it's more of him just wanting to be
The
relevant.
it guy?
Yeah, I don't even want to say the it guy, but like, so he's one of those people that talks about, the state of R&B and how R&B music, real R&B music, if you will, is kind of it's not really non-existent, because everybody kind of wants a more like hip hop R&B type music or a more like raunchy R&B music. So he talks about that, but I feel like he says that, but then when we get his album, he's kind of doing what he's saying everybody else is doing. And it's kind of the same thing with like a K Michelle. And I get why they do it, because it's like, we got to pay our bills or whatever. But I guess I feel like on something with like the Soul Train Awards, like, I don't know, you could have gave us one of those cuts that's more of like your traditional R&B that you kind of stand up for. and we would have been good. The one thing I love, and the reason that I watch the Soul Train Awards, the NAACP Image Awards, is because I feel like it's going to be something that's done by us, and we're going to do it in a way that, we might have some problems. Production might not be as good, but typically those two are, the production's really well. It's the BET Awards. It's like, but it's entertaining. It takes me back to the days of being a kid and seeing people who can actually like really perform, really dance, or really sing, or just really put on a good show, and they get on and like, they give you a lot. If I compare this to the AMAs, like hands down 3,000 times better than the AMAs. The AMAs, I kept looking like, why is this on television? Why are you guys doing this? Like, why do we have to watch this? Why did you guys, and no shade to Christina Aguilera, but like, why was she giving a tribute to Whitney Houston? Like, what? And then she kept screaming, and she was coming up with new notes and like new arrangements, and it was just like, ugh, it's falling short. There's this one time as she's singing, they show Pink's face, and I don't know if Pink was really like meaning to look at her like that, but Pink just looked like, why in the hell are you up there? Like, who hired you? You should just go sit down somewhere.
Fail.
Absolute fail. Absolute fail.
That is, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. But we got a black person in Buckingham Palace. That's what it's called, right? Yeah, her mother's black, her father's white, and she's on Suits, and you know how I love Suits, so I'm sad to see her character go.
Oh, that's where she comes from.
Yeah, she's on Suits, and so I'm like, oh, Mike's fiance is going.
Wait, so why is she leaving?
Because she married Prince Harry.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, why is she not going to be on Suits? She can't be on Suits anymore?
I guess not. She decided to just go. I guess she's going to be doing the royal duties. I don't know what that includes.
Yeah, I don't want to sound ignorant, because I was like, well, I mean, can she be a princess and still be on like American TV? Like,
I don't know. Queen Elizabeth run a tight ship. Now she don't be playing.
I mean, but what is her? Ain't her goal is just like to go out and wave to the poor or something like that? Like, I don't know.
I don't know, because they don't have no real power.
Yeah, so it's just like more of a figure. I don't know. I don't want to knock what this girl is doing. Shout out to her. Shout out to, of course, the internet and all of the memes that came along with it. All of the gifs that came along with it. It was great. I actually had no idea. I was like, I don't know who this girl is. I just kept hearing, it's a black person that's in royalty. We got a black person in the palace. And I was like, what? It's like, I was like, what's happening? And then, of course, following the memes, and you see what memes and see what's going on. And it was hilarious. It's definitely entertaining for a day. Shout out to the picture of her mom, and apparently her mom has dreadlocks. And which I thought, I always think is dope.
She's a therapist too.
Yeah. I always think it's dope, because I think that it challenges a lot of people that are uncomfortable. A lot of people that want to see one image and say that this one image is bad, and people shouldn't be able to do this. And it just says, like, you can see somebody who is as poised and polished, just from, because I don't know much about her, but from the interviews I've seen, Meghan Markle is like just kind of poised and polished, and she has like relaxed hair and all this other stuff. And then, like, you see her mom, and not to say that her mom is not poised and polished, because she can be, but just to see her with dreadlocks and to be all of those things, I feel like it just kind of challenges the ignorant people that will want to say, like, oh, dreadlocks, you need to cut them. Or somebody like a Wendy Williams that says, when she told her son that he can lock his hair, but once he walks across the stage for college graduation, it's time for him to grow up and take that mess out. And like, I was just like, what? Like, it's so stupid. Like, come on, man. So shout out to them. Like, I think that's really dope.
Yes. So y'all, that's it for our mimosas and orange juice. Let us know what y'all think about I'm about to say AMAs. Well, yeah, Christina's performance, obviously, but Soul Train Award, GOP tax bill, black royalty, and the Soul Train Awards. Let us know what y'all think. #ChatBC, and we'll be back with our main dish. All right, we're back with our main dish. And today's main dish is something that I hate to say it, but I'm kind of guilty of this. We were thinking through what we're going to talk about today, and we had a conversation, and then Randall read this article title, and we both bust out laughing.
Yeah.
And it's called ghosting. Ghost ride the whip. That's what the first thing, but that's not what we're talking about. But ghosting, when you are in relationships with people and then you just go ghost. This could be dating, this could be friends, can't really be family. Because I feel like family just gonna be there. You can't really ghost on them because they'll come back up and yeah, you can't escape family.
Yeah, I don't think you ghosting no family members. They'll show up to your house. What?
Maybe you can do some cousins, aunties, and uncles, but it's hard for like immediate family. So yeah, when I heard it, I laughed because I'm guilty of this. Sometimes when I have a lot of stuff going on, I can like disappear. And it's really bad. Like I feel like a horrible person. Like, you know, I used to really think really high of my friendship. Like, man, Lisa, you're an amazing friend. But sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, dang, you kind of jacked up.
Yeah.
Like, I could just be like, you know what? I need some time because I got other stuff going on, and my mind, I think, can't only like handle so much, and so you just ghost on certain situations because you like overload, and it's not even the people; it's just like you're just overloaded, so something has to go.
Right.
So it can be bad. I mean, sometimes people do it maliciously. And then sometimes people do it unintentionally. I never do it to hurt people. It's just something that kind of happens. But I know people who ghost on people and they don't necessarily have malicious intent. They just don't do confrontation well.
Yeah, or just lack of interest, honestly, which is the thing.
Yeah. Are you guilty of ghosting?
Absolutely. I think that, most people are. And I feel like we should be able to do that, and it's not really a problem. So this article in general, she's
saying ghosting is toxic. Yeah,
so I take some issue with this article. There's certain things about it, certain elements of it that I agree with, and I'm cool with, and it's fine. But there's other things that I'm just kind of like, well, I mean, that's not really my responsibility, and like, I don't really understand why. Yeah, I just don't think that you can blame this all on a person just because they stopped talking to somebody. So one of the things they do in the article, and for just kind of like a good baseline starting point, is they define what ghosting is, right? Now, they do use the Urban Dictionary to define ghosting. So, I mean, that's a little debatable. But I feel like the definition that they use is still pretty fair. And the fact that they define it, because it is a slang term, and I think the fact of them defining it is actually important to have in the conversation, because people may think that ghosting is different things. And so here's what it is. They use this, and apparently this comes from Urban Dictionary, but it says that ghosting is the act of suddenly ceasing all communication with someone the subject is dating, but no longer wishes to date. This is done in hopes that the ghostee will just, in quotes, get the hint and leave the subject alone, as opposed to the subject simply telling them that he or she is no longer interested. So it doesn't say that in the definition, but in the article, she also talks about ghosting on people that, not just in terms of dating, but somebody that you could just be in friendship with, or like having casual conversations with on the regular, and then out of nowhere you go somewhere. So here's what I think about it, right? I think that everybody ghosts on somebody. Ghosting in itself is actually something that you can do like for like a certain period of time. So maybe you might be MIA for like 2 weeks, and you guys kind of build up this habit of talking regularly, likely through text. And then all of a sudden you just kind of go away, and then you go on, and then you come back. So basically what the article is arguing is that is like emotionally damaging to people, and it's dangerous, and it's really bad. And people shouldn't do it. I don't know. I just kind of feel like, I mean, I get it. But I kind of think that I always want people to figure out like their responsibility in this situation and what they can do to, I guess, not be ghosted on to some degree. And I think one of the things that kind of, in the context of like somebody that you might be interested in, y'all kind of talking because, you know, this might be going into something a little bit more romantic. For me, I've ghosted when I feel like we go from like, let's get to know each other, kind of playful texting and talking to like some, oh, so, you know, what type of person you want to be with? Are you interested in me? Are you going to take me on a date the next time we see each other? Like, that's when it's like, wait. This guy way too serious, way too
0
fast.
to 100 real quick.
Exactly. That to me is like,
well, people want that. They want to know your intentions early on so they won't waste their time.
But I feel like you should.
They read that Steve Harvey book.
And that's the problem.
They read the Steve Harvey book.
And that is,
Steve Harvey told
that
them.
is the problem. Because
I still
I
haven't
feel
read
like,
that book, though.
And you probably shouldn't. I'm just playing. I don't know what's in the book. But, well, I kind of do know what's in the book. I've heard like some homegirls say like, oh,
I watched the movie, so I think I got the cliff notes.
Whatever. But I don't know. I just think that like a part of that comes from people having expectations of what an interaction will be. And those interactions, in this one situation that I'm thinking about, that I definitely know that I ghosted out. Like, so I was at like a group event. It was like a house party. Talking, exchange numbers. Actually exchanged a couple numbers. But it was in an environment of like, my friends, you guys are all my friends. Like, let's come together. We're having an event. I don't even think it was a birthday. I think it was just kind of like, I just want to have an event. Y'all come together. Let's kind of hang out, right? And so I met this girl, and we were kind of, you know, just kind of cool, just kind of casually talking. And then I felt like, I don't know, I just felt like the conversation shifted to something that was like, yo, wait. Like, we never talked about this before. Like, I feel like you kind of have these expectations of like what this is. And I don't feel like I showed you that that's what it was about to be, or where I was necessarily trying to go. And so I kind of had to ghost out on it, but it really wasn't really intentional. I think it just kind of went down on like my priority list of responses. And then at some point in time, I realized it had been like 2 weeks since I responded, and I was just like, all right, we good. So it was more of a thing of kind of like, I don't know, you're putting certain expectations on me that I didn't sign up for. And so in that sense, I feel like you can't be mad at me if I ghosted and be like, oh, you've just given me this traumatic experience. Because it's like, well, I never we never like agreed that what this would be. Like, how many phone numbers do you have? Like, how many times do you swap? You get numbers with somebody and be like, oh, you know, let's talk and let's see what happens. And then like, we'll talk. It just kind of like as on some let's get to know you type thing. And then it fizzles out. Maybe like there's lack of interest on the other part or my part or whatever it is. And it just kind of fizzles out and then you just move on. But I feel like the article was kind of making those types of interactions seem like, oh, well, you're wrong if you do that because you're like emotionally damaging and scarring the person. It's like, well, I never told that person to set these expectations. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't a part of this, whatever it was they were expecting or hoping to happen. Like, I never signed up for that. Like, it's not really my fault that you set your expectations to something that they shouldn't be. And they kind of get there, and then now I'm supposed to feel bad or feel like, oh, well, I'm actually damaging people by ghosting on them. Like, this was kind of like a trial and error type thing. And like, you know, in the trial, we found an error. And so we moved on. That was it. Like,
not in the trial, we found an error. That's funny. I'm going to have to use that. I think, so you're saying ghosting happens for you when a person moves too quick for you, for the relationship.
I feel like it's a bit of like you kind of superimpose these expectations on me that like it was never the intention from the get-go. And so what was more of a let's casually, kind of get to know each other with no intent. I never expressed like, oh, I'm interested in you. I kind of want to date you. I want to take you out. Like nothing like that. It was just kind of like, oh, hey, you're cool. We had a great conversation. We found that we have things in common, similarities. Let's swap numbers to continue this conversation. And that was it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there was no, I didn't know that in getting your number, which never mind, I ain't gonna say that. But yeah, I didn't know that in getting your number that like I was like trying to this was like a sign that I was trying to take you out on a date or to like date you. And first off, we don't even live in the same place, so that's one thing. Second off, we actually even had a conversation about me kind of being in a situation during the time of us talking. So that was a whole another layer of like, I don't understand why you have this expectation, but now that you have this expectation, I don't really know how to let you know without kind of verbally saying like, oh no, I'm good. Or like, there's only so many laugh out louds you can put to somebody's comment without nothing else before it's like, all right, you just kind of need to get like, it's not there. And if you continue to be insistent upon doing it, I feel like now you're putting me in a situation where it's like, I have to be a complete like a-hole, and I'm not necessarily trying to do that, so like I'll just like drop the comment, especially when the conversation's through text. It's like, all right, cool.
Yeah, because you don't want to make it awkward by saying, you know what, I don't want to progress any further in a dating situation. I'm sorry, you got the wrong idea.
Yeah,
like,
because
it would have to be real awkward. I've been ghosted on in dating relationships, but I've ghosted on people. So I think, it goes both ways. I remember in undergrad, I started dating this guy. He was super nice. But he was like a youth pastor or something. And he was like really eager to get married. And so we were on like our second or third date. And he was like, yeah, if this is really going well in 4 months, I remember we were at Old Charlie's eating. He was like, if this really goes well in 4 months, I could probably propose. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, I didn't even want to eat my food no more. I didn't even want to go. I was like, what? Propose? Like, I'm in undergrad.
Yeah.
Like, I
awkward,
haven't even
right?
finished.
Yeah.
Like, 4 months, I don't even know you.
Right.
So after that, I ghosted on him, like, really. And he was like texting me like, dang, you just, like, we make plans and you keep rescheduling. And I was just like, man, that scared me.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't even want to. Marriage is nowhere in my mind right now. I'm trying to graduate.
Because somebody just basically took all these expectations that they had for how it was going to go, and it just kind of threw you in the loop without including you in the conversation. And so I feel like the article is basically saying in those situations, like, you have to be the adult. You got to be an adult, be a mature person. It starts off talking about like accountability and saying like how we have to hold each other accountable. And it's like, oh, well, you should be a mature adult and let this person know that you don't want to talk to them anymore. But it's like, well, they also should be a mature enough person to realize that they kind of included me into this plan of theirs that like I ain't signed up to be in. So I feel like if they aren't going to acknowledge their fault in including me in something that I didn't agree to be in, then I also can just be like, oh, well, what do I owe you in saying like, oh, I'm just gonna stop talking to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't necessarily owe you anything because there was no real tie here. What I can agree with the article is when it talks about from the standpoint of like ghosting on friends, right? I'm definitely guilty of this. And much like yourself, I feel like I've kind of always touted myself as being like an incredible friend. I'm such a great friend. Like, oh man, I'm super, super good as a friend. I really, give a lot to my friendships and yada, yada, yada. And I feel like I still believe that to a degree, but I've realized that sometimes in trying to balance multiple friendships, in terms of also trying to balance like, your career moving and things happening, and also trying to balance education and like obtaining additional education and trying to have, you know, like a little situationship or whatever, like it becomes a lot and you end up falling by the wayside, and certain people or certain conversations is just not as easy to maintain. And it's something that we can do with like anybody. Like sometimes it's like people that are close to you, people that are not so close to you, but you end up doing it. So I had to, for myself, realize that that's a thing. But what I can say though, is in that situation, I can agree with the article when it says in those situations, you should be able to say, hey, here's what's happening. Like, here's what's going on. Kind of be honest and open with that person and let them know. So it is not like, oh, you just kind of left them out. So I can understand that. Now, I do kind of believe that. I mean, I don't know if I'm necessarily emotionally scarring you. Like, I don't necessarily think, I don't know how serious that will be. Maybe if you were going through like a crisis and I was there, then all of a sudden I just kind of ghosted out. Okay, that could be a problem. But I don't know. I don't know if like I can see how I'm emotionally scarring a friend because I haven't texted them back or called them in a few weeks.
I think it depends for me, the level of closeness. So if it's like a best friend and you ghost on them, I think that's absolutely wrong.
Right.
If it's a regular friend, and I hate to put people in categories, or no, like
because they're real. We can be real. They're categories.
But if it's your best friend that you talk to, like that y'all have a history and y'all been through stuff and y'all are like, that's who you emotionally depend on, and it goes, I believe that's wrong. But if it's like a friend that you like are getting to know, or you have never been that, you haven't crossed the BFF barrier, I just be like, it's kind of like you just be like, oh, okay. But then it's like, maybe I'm not a good friend. I'm just a good best friend.
Yeah.
Could that be it? That
well, no,
I'm a good friend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's dual in that sense that it just kind of just really depends on your relationship. That's why I say I think with friendships, I can agree that even at every level of friendship, you owe somebody some explanation for ghosting, right? I think it's something that's inevitable. I have recently had a situation with somebody where they were like, you know, I just believe that people make time for what they want. I agree with that statement to some degree, though. I think that, yes, we do make time for what we want. However, there are certain things, certain people that are not as consistent in our life. And so when things start to happen, the things that you are used to not doing, but maybe once or every 2 weeks, those are the things that are going to, it's like kind of like the fat that's going to get cut out, right? Like if I'm used to, like, let's say you and I talked once every 2 weeks. It's more of like a catch up thing. It's not like, it's always like, well, let's get current with what's going on. We're not really talking, I'm going through stuff, you're going through stuff. We're not necessarily talking about the stuff that we're actively going through it when we're actively going through it. It's more of like oh yeah, well, 2 weeks ago I did this and that happened. Well, when my life gets busy, that's our conversation and friendship, if you will, is probably going to be the first thing to go by the wayside. It's not like I don't care about you. I don't have, you're not important to me, but it's like typically like our normal interaction, which you may not have found, you didn't have a problem with before. I just don't have time. I have other things that are taking that time up. So I don't have, I don't think to make that call because this one thing or these things are consuming me so much that like, I'm just kind of into those, And so I feel like in that I can owe you an explanation, but it's also, on your part, you kind of got to understand that, I mean, it's not like we had this like day-to-day communication anyway, and that's okay, right? Like,
well, I'm the horrible person that can go and have friends that I have day-to-day conversations with, and then I just get busy and not have them. So I think it's just, I don't know.
But as long as you have as long as you'll have a conversation with that person about what's happening, I don't know. I don't know if I can say that I think that is a bad thing, as long as you can explain to them what's going on. Like, even, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you're doing it, as long as you're like, yo, look, you know, I realized, so the person, they actually put like a suggested copy and paste message that said something like, you know, I apologize. I know I've been absent for a while. I apologize for that. I've been really busy at work. Let's catch up soon. I think that was cool, except the let's catch up soon. For me, it was,
yeah, I was going to be like, that's the part. Because it's like, if you don't have the time, it's really set for false expectation.
Exactly. I'm setting up a false expectation. I would have probably said all of that and just been like, you know, at this moment, like I really don't have time, so I'm just letting you know that I'm probably going to be absent, and then that's it. Like, just leave it at that and kind of let that person understand it. And I feel like people...
But I think it begins to be a problem when, like, you say that, and then if you're social with other people, they see you out. And so my friend explained it to me this way. She was like, you have to have mental categories for, like... You've already in your mind set social time for people that you've had, that you are for your life staples. So when you tell somebody that you don't have time, you're not saying that I don't have time for people. You're saying that I've cultivated time that's consistent for staples. I was like, that's a good, it's like, you know, like you gotta eat. So when you say you don't have time, you're still eating, you're still doing necessities. But additional things, you like, oh, I could cut that.
But people don't understand that naturally. I just kind of feel like, I kind of feel like...
You said, do people understand that naturally?
Yeah, I feel like people should kind of understand it.
No, because I feel like people, if you say, I don't have time to hang, and then they see you out hanging with other people, they're going to be like, you said you didn't have time to hang.
But I think that...
And I think that'll be offensive to them.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that then you have to go through this process of kind of assessing where you are in somebody's life. And maybe you need to have that conversation with them. So I had a situation where, and this was years ago, but I had a situation where I felt like I had put more stock into this friendship, or had more expectations for this friendship than, you know, maybe, I guess, what was understood or we should have. And I was just kind of like, hey, yo, like, I just want it to be known that, like, I really appreciate our friendship. I really appreciate, you know, me being able to come to you and express to you certain things and to talk to you about certain things. And, like, you kind of being there for me when you have. As a result of that, I kind of expect to talk to you more. Like, I kind of want to talk to you more. And I realize that we don't. And so if that's not something that is cool, is feasible for you, or something that you don't really care about, then I understand. If that's not something that you do, if you're like, hey, I don't talk on the phone like that, then all right, that's cool. Like, I got it. But I'm just kind of letting you know where I'm at. And then I just had to take it from what it is. And in having that conversation, I found out that it was kind of like, look, you know, I actually have these other things going on. I have a brother, I have a best friend, and I have a relationship that I'm also trying to manage. So while I appreciate you as a friend and I appreciate your friendship, I don't want to tell you that we're going to be able to talk more frequently, because the reality is we probably aren't. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, it was like, bet, no love lost. And like, I was in a completely different space. You know, I was in a space then where I was going through a lot, and I felt like I really needed this person, because they were the person that would hear me out and kind of gave me like good perspective. And so I was like, I really need you. But what's fair is that I feel like I had a conversation with you. I understood where I fit into this hierarchy of your life that we all have. And so I can make adjustments accordingly with no, you know what I'm saying? No hurt feelings or no love lost. It was just kind of like, all right, well, yeah. I'm not in that space, or we're not in that space. This don't mean that you're a horrible person. This don't mean that I can't consider you a friend. This typically just means that you don't have the time to, you know, give to me. And probably because at the time I was more of a project that was, you kept counseling me, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And like, sometimes it's more of like, I don't want to have to sit on the phone when I got to counsel you. I actually just want to talk to my friends where it can just that I know that we can kind of laugh about more stuff and we kind of joke about more stuff. I actually don't want to be a counselor because I didn't go to school for being a counselor. I went to school for engineering. So like, if it was, I kind of, I just had to accept that. And so I feel like people, if you feel that way, then you should also like try to have that conversation. Let a person know where you're at and how you feel and what expectations you have. And like, let them know like, yo, I kind of feel like, maybe this is not, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe this isn't something that we can keep going, and just let me know what it is so that I can know how to move forward, as opposed to just be like, oh, they ghosted on me, I'm hurt. Because maybe, people, I just feel like people probably just don't know, and you just might need some clarity of what's going on.
So I've had somebody tell me that about, they don't have the time to meet the demands of the friendship. I can accept that from people. I have trouble accepting it from the reason I had trouble accepting this from this person is because when they needed me to be there, I mean, they had the expectation that I'd be present, and they excused themselves when they should be present. That's the only time that I had a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, to me, I just be like, you know what? That's a scam. But because when you need me to be present, you take full advantage. So I think that's one thing. I think for me though, I think it's hard to have those conversations with friends that you've had built a relationship with, and there's a rapport, because it's kind of like, how do you break up with a friend without it being weird?
Well, I don't know but is it necessarily breaking up though?
It's not breaking up, but it just sounds weird if somebody's used to talking to you on a certain level. So say it's a person that's talking to you and you're telling them details of your life, right? And then you say, you know what, I think you know too much about me. I just don't want you to have that level of access to me. How do you say, you know what, I don't want you to have that level of access to me any longer?
I don't know. I feel like you just said I get that. I get it.
It just seems weird.
Yeah.
I guess you can say it. It just seems like a weird conversation.
Yeah. I was going to say, I get it in the sense that it's weird, but I think that honestly, that's just one of the things that in reading this article that I was like, I guess I kind of take issues with some of this stuff is because I feel like it's saying have the conversation. Like, you need to have the conversation, but it's putting the responsibility of the conversation solely on the person that's doing the ghosting. And it's like, well, obviously they're probably not going to have the conversation because they're the one ghosting, right? And so I think that if you feel that somebody has ghosted on you, then you should have a conversation now, or at least attempt to have the conversation. Now, if that person in ghosting, so like, let's say, right, we were talking, and out of nowhere, again, I just stopped talking to you, and 3 weeks have passed. And then you kind of hit me up and be like, hey, yo, look, I really want to talk to you because I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Did I do anything? We haven't really been talking. There's a shift. I kind of grew to expect us to talk, and then, I don't know, something just happened. And if that person refuses to talk to you at that point, okay, now, that's a problem. They're not being responsible. But I feel like you can initiate the conversation. If the person responds and you're saying, hey, like, here's what's going on. Here's how I feel. Here's what my expectations were. I'm not trying to, I just want to know if I did anything wrong, because this is weird. Like, I'm not used to our interactions being this way. I think that can be either person's responsibility. I don't think it's just the person that ghosted, because maybe you ghosted on somebody because, I don't know, something major just happened and it was really, really hard. It's hard for you to talk about. It's hard for you to deal with. You're trying to also come to terms and to grips with it yourself. I think at that point, that's when friendship really is activated. And it says, although you're not responding to me, talking to me like we normally do, I'm going as your friend. I'm going the extra mile to make sure that everything is okay. Now, if everything is okay and it really is just something that you feel like you can't engage in, you can't do right now, okay, then that's cool. I've done my part. and now we can just move on. And what I will say though is the person that did the ghosting, when you decide that you want to circle back and actually have this friendship or this conversation with this person, you kind of got to understand that it really is up to them at that point of what level of friendship that you guys have, because you did ghost on them. And so I feel like that's, you know, that's something that you have to accept. But I don't agree that it's just the person that's doing the ghosting that needs to, quote unquote, be mature and have the conversation. Because I feel like those things happen for a number of reasons. And sometimes it could just not be just because a person is mad at you, or they just don't like you, or they're not interested in talking to you. It really could just be that they got a lot of stuff going on in their life, and there's certain people they might just need to talk to more now to help them get through it. You might not be one of those people, and that doesn't mean you're bad, doesn't mean you're a bad friend, don't mean they don't like you. It simply just kind of means that, like, hey, this is the state and the space that we're in right now, and like, let's have a conversation and a dialogue with it so we can kind of refocus our expectations, and then we can move on. I feel like the article kind of misses that piece. It's just saying like, oh, I want to hold you accountable. We need to hold each other accountable. You need to grow up and stop ghosting on people because you're emotionally scarring them. And I'm a little like, but I don't know. What if you ghosted somebody because you're emotionally scarred? Like, are we really getting to the meat of the problem? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that person will be less likely to be emotionally scarred if we have a conversation and understand where it's coming from. And if we do that, and they can get more context to why you're in the space that you're in, or why your interactions are changed, then they shouldn't be emotionally scarred. And if they are, you know, maybe they need to do some others like soul searching or figuring out what it is. But I think for myself, I try not to put a lot of expectations on people. There's only like one or two people that I have certain expectations for. Like, I expect for you to call me on my birthday. I expect for you to, you know, be here when I'm going through. I expect that if I call you at 1 a.m. or 12 noon and say, hey, I really need to talk, that you're trying to make some sort of effort to talk to me. For me, it's only like two people. Everybody else is kind of like, I mean, well, you can't talk. Okay, I ain't gonna be too mad at you. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, there's a hierarchy. We exist in certain places, and like, you can let me know if you thought that you were in that place, and vice versa. I can let you know if I thought that I was in that place, and if then I wasn't, then okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't agree that the sole issue is just the person that's doing the ghost. I don't like things where anything is telling just one person is all their fault. Like, I feel like it's something that we always can all do.
Yeah, it's a collaborative effort for ghosting. I think if you
collaborative effort for ghosting.
If you've been ghosted, for me, people that I've ghosted on some of them are incredible people. Like, they've done nothing wrong, and so it's just like, at this point in time, I just need space because I just got a lot going on. So it's kind of like, if you're ghosted on, don't think it's something wrong with you. Just be like, you know, that other person, like you said, just has other stuff going on. And so I think, you know, a lot of times when people are ghosted on, they take it personal and they start looking at inward and making sure like they're not a horrible person, or, you know, and it's kind of like, no, it could be. I know it's cliche to say it's not you, it's me. But sometimes it just, you know, just piggybacking on what you said, no, the other person could be emotionally scarred.
Yeah, for absolutely. And I think that,
especially if you like me and you still wrestle with friendship PTSD, you really just, sometimes you just be like, you know what? I just need some time.
Yeah. And that's honest, again, you're emotionally scarred. So you can't say that it's not always about this one person being bad or you not being like enough. It really, sometimes it's really not about you. It's more so about what somebody else is going. So if you've been ghosted on, like, honestly, it just might be that this person has other things that are going on, and it's okay. I think that and I've talked about this in another sense with a friend recently, but like, when one thing bad happens, or we get into a disagreement or argument with somebody, or we kind of reach a crossroads in a situation, we immediately start to like take all of that in and make it seem like, oh, well, it must be something wrong with me, and somebody doesn't want to talk to me, and somebody don't want to be around me. This person don't think I'm cool, or these people don't, they don't accept me. They don't want me to be a part of their circle and all this. And I feel like that's some piece or part of that happens. But honestly, we should be like, oh, okay, well, I mean, fine. It just didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? Like I have other friends. There are other people in my life that affirm me. There are other great relationships that I have. Like there are people and I think we have to accept that, you're not going to be everything for everybody. Some people going to think you cool. Some people going to think you're not. Some people going to think you got it together. Some people going to think you don't. And that's fine because that's their opinion. You have an opinion. They have opinion. They'll express that. I think as opposed to just taking it all on yourself and say, what's wrong with me and what did I do wrong? You can say, hey, maybe that person is going through something. Maybe they don't want to talk to me about it for whatever reasons. I feel like we got to a place where we could be open and we could share these things. But for whatever reasons, they're stepping back. I'm going to have a conversation to gauge what it is and what it's not. And if, I can't get anything from them, then it'll be what I say it is and what it isn't. And at that point, it'll be like, okay, well, I'm just moving forward. And when that person tries to circle back and be like, hey, friend, I need you because I miss you and I want to be your friend again. And be like, all right, well, maybe I will or maybe I won't. But I don't think it's...
You have the power. They gave you the power.
Yeah. I don't think you should always, if you've been ghosted on, you should always make it like... I don't think you should always think of it. I don't want to say you make it, but I don't think you should always think of it as something that you've done wrong or something that you don't have. I think sometimes it really could just be that like, hey, maybe the person is going through something. Try to have the conversation with them about what they're going through to figure out what it is. Maybe you can show them, or maybe you can like be there for them in that time. But if they don't want it and they kind of reject it and they push back, then move on. Like it's kind of their loss and not really yours. And so don't beat yourself up about it because I don't know. We're all people. We all bleed the same blood. Like I feel like since I was a kid, I've admired Wanya Morris, right? From Boyz II Men. I've always thought this dude was like incredible. If I met Wanya like right now and tried to befriend him and he was just kind of like, nah, bro, I'm good, or I don't really care. I mean, initially I'll be like, dang, but then it'll be like, I mean, okay. Like, you gonna die just like I'm gonna die. You bleed blood just like I bleed blood. You have to go to some form of work and pay bills just like I have to do. Like, I don't know, why am I giving you that much power? Like, who are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool, and then I'm not gonna take it to heart to the point that it like ruins me or I'm emotionally damaged, because rejection is out there. We are all going to be rejected by somebody
and reject others.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we're gonna be rejected by somebody at some point. So, all right, cool. I ain't your cup of tea. All right, well, there's a lot of other people drinking out of this glass. So, like, okay, like, who cares?
So, take it with a grain of salt. If you've been ghosted on, remember that I try to remember when people ghost on me that I ghost on people. So I just be like, you know what? Let me give people a break. And yeah. So y'all let us know what y'all think about ghosting. Do y'all ghost on people? Does people ghost on you? Do you have more people ghosting on you than you ghost on people? Or you've never ghosted on somebody, but people always ghost on you? That might be something else. But #ChatBC, let us know what y'all think. We would love to interact with you, and we'll be back with our toast or roast.
All right, guys, we are back, and it is time for our toast or roast. This week, I'm actually going to do a little bit of both. And the only reason I'm going to do both is because there's one thing I've been wanting to roast for a while to kind of raise awareness and to make sure that people know about this and understands this, because if you are listening to this podcast, this is really going to impact you. So net neutrality is something that has been a topic of discussion for a long time now. The Obama administration actually the FCC under the Obama administration made sure that the internet was neutral. You know, everybody, there's no high speed, fast lane for the internet. There's no blocking of certain sites and that you have to pay more in order to get certain content. It's just one big open thing. We kind of access it and create it and define it by what it is. The current FCC under the Trump administration is making moves and planning a vote, which I believe happens on the 11th or the 13th of this month of December, in which they're going to be rolling back those provisions that allow the internet to be open. And so we could potentially have the internet look something like cable television. And so how in order to get access to, 150 channels, you have to pay $110 a month, but you can get basic cable and you can pay $50 a month, or you can just have local information, and that's going to be, free. And that just kind of comes in. The internet that we know may be that way. This affects us as podcasters, anybody that creates content online. If you use social media, if you have one single social media account, even if you just use email, this affects you as well. So we all need to be open and concerned about it. There are certain things that we can do to put pressure on people at the FCC to make sure that they vote against this and that they don't allow this to happen. Literally, for real, if this happens, this is going to jack up everything that we know we've become accustomed to. And it's actually pretty scary to me because so many people have made their lives and their careers off of internet media and internet business and things like that. And if that is changed or altered, literally the internet becomes fragmented and we won't be able to all have access to the same information. I may not know what's going on in Florida anymore because I have to pay X number of dollars to get access to this site that's on this lane of high-speed internet. So net neutrality, if you don't know about it, Google it, figure out what you can do. I'll try to make sure that we put some stuff out of there. So I'm definitely roasting the FCC because I feel like this is some bull. And just really fast, the thing that I do want to toast is She's Gotta Have It. If you guys have not seen She's Gotta Have It on Netflix, make sure you check it out. I think it's really good. I love it because it shows some incredible looking black people. It shows black people of all different shades and tones, and it puts them in just it looks like Queen Sugar in that the as you're watching it, you can really just kind of pause it and take a picture. It just looks so nice. The different frames that they have and the way that they show people. The story is actually pretty good. It starts dialogue about a lot of things, different things that people do and experience, and especially women, and how oftentimes we don't think about, the day to day of what it is to be a woman. So I thought it was really good. If you have Netflix, make sure you check it out. All 10 episodes are there. Hopefully that this is a show that will continue to come on. I feel like Netflix needs some bangers. And if we are going to be losing some shows, then we definitely need to get shows like this on. So check out She's Gotta Have It. And that's my toast for this week.
So I was going to roast 45 President Donald J. Trump because of his recent tweets. But, as I was thinking, well, you know what? Let me just roast him. So he is, he tweeted this morning about the FBI and saying all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, bruh, this is somebody that's on your team. We're not talking about CNN or Washington Post or whoever you have an audience in media saying it's fake news. But for me, this is really dangerous because what he's trying to do is discredit any organization that disagrees with him or that's trying to press charges against him. And it's just that's scary because if people buy into this, you have no accountability. Right. And our nation was built so leadership would have accountability. That's why we have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. That's why we have those, to keep tabs on each other. And so it's you're trying to shame everybody that disagrees with you. And for the life of me, this strategy he has is so stupid. Like the fact that even his own party, that he shames them, the people that he needs to get the legislation passed that he wants. It's like such a stupid, it's like, I don't even understand what universe he lives in where things work like that.
Right.
Like, I think he's just used to obviously corporate in his own universe, but it's just like, guy, in order for you to be able to do what you're trying to do, you have to work with the people who disagree with you that are in your own party. Like, why are you shading them publicly? Why are you tweeting about them? But I hope they lock his butt up. God, I hope they lock his butt up.
Lock him up. Lock him up. Isn't that what to say about Hillary Clinton? Like the whole lock her up thing?
Yeah, I want them to lock him up and, you know, give us Meek Mill. I don't know, but just put him.
Give us Meek Mill. Free Meek Mill.
Free Meek Mill, lock Donald Trump up. But that would be like, if they lock him up before 2018, when I tell you that'll be the gift that keeps on giving for America, that would be the best thing they could have done. One of the best.
I can't disagree.
Besides giving us reparations. They could give us reparations and lock Donald Trump up in 2018. That'd be great. And they raise student loan debt. That'll top it all off.
That's what I really want.
I want them to I almost want them to lock him up more than I want my debt paid. And that's like really neck and neck too.
Oh no, I think I might. I think I could deal with 3-4 years if y'all just let.
No, because I don't know what he gonna do though.
That's true.
Randall, this junk is scary.
No, it really is though, for real. No, in all seriousness, it is.
It's
really
like frustrating and it's so unreal and unprecedented. It's like, yeah.
His tactic of the one thing I
intimidation.
I would say, yeah, it's just intimidation. That's the reason that he does it, is because he can intimidate people to make the moves that he wants. So that's why he's not concerned about, allies or his party or anything. It's like, if I continue to intimidate people, I can move you into a place where I get what I want, and it'll run like a reality show. And so my supporters will be engaged in this because they were engaged in me as a celebrity, right? As a businessman. People are in awe at the fact that I can, garner money, get interest in things of that nature. So it's like, I can do what I want to do, and I can bully you into getting out of you what I want, simply because I know that it's going to work and nobody is going to press back on me. And collectively, people are collectively not going to press back on me. And so that's really the scary part, is because you start to see how, media outlets, he'll say things like fake news. And so that they won't continue to, so that people won't lose viewership, because it's all about the numbers and them wanting that support. They'll start to try to bring other people on that are Trump supporters and be like, oh, this isn't it. Was it the New York Times released an article about a white nationalist, and people were basically saying, like, you guys are normalizing this type of community. Like, this is not what we should be doing. We shouldn't be normalizing it. But the reason that they're doing these things is because Donald Trump continues to say that it's fake news, it's fake news, it's fake news. So they're like, oh, well, let's make sure that we're balanced. And so let's bring the people that support this type of ideology. And it's just like, he's succeeding. He's bullying people into getting what he wants. And that's the scary part for me. I'm sorry for taking over your roast, but yeah.
No, I know. He causes so much emotion from anybody who says his name. So I know that if you had a toast to him, I know I would have had a comment to follow up, because he irks us all.
Yeah, for sure. He really does. Like, it's, yeah. Any sane person, I don't. Yeah.
But people are still supporting him, and that's the problematic predicament that we're in right now. So, and he could win another 4 years. That's why they need to lock him up, because that's the only sure way to keep him from winning another 4 years.
Yeah, I just think that we need to let me shut up. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up. So, we have a good vibe this week. And the good vibe this week, yeah.
If it requires fake smiling, I'm probably not coming. Yeah, that's self-explanatory.
I ghosted you. This is actually how you can figure out if you're going to get ghosted or not. Like, just one of the ways.
I think that's the way to figure out who to ghost. If you gotta, not in all cases, in some cases, if it just requires a lot of energy just to want to be in the person's presence, then it's probably time to ghost. I mean, just be like, I'm just not. If you're not enjoying the company any longer.
Yeah. If I have to find myself trying to smile to keep this conversation going, or do the little, like you kind of laugh and you really not laughing, but it's like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, eventually at that point, I'm good. I don't really care. I don't want to do. I can only do it, but so long before it becomes, all right, where's the nearest exit? I gotta go home.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for listening to another episode of Brunch Culture. As always, you can catch all our past episodes at brunchculturebc.com. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Brunch Culture, on Twitter at Brunch Culture, on Instagram it's Brunch_Culture. I always get those confused in my mind. If y'all want to interact with us, #ChatBC, or you can email us at brunchculturebc@gmail.com. Remember to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker. We're literally everywhere. So you can subscribe and leave comments too, because that really helps us out. Leave comments. We love to hear what y'all think about the show. Give us ideas, all of that. And remember, here at Brunch Culture, everything is up for discussion.